So this is a video explaining the way in which my program is structured. So this is a program called Hot and Cold. It's a game where the player is trying to find an objective that is invisible based on how close they are and the graphical indicators for that. To see it in action, you can have a look at the video. So it's structured using a main function, and a lot of these functions are created in my other modules here and tied back in with the header files. So in the player CPP file, I have the instructions to create a new player and selecting the bitmap for the sprite, as well as changing sprite and handling the input. In this one, this has a lot of the main game functions, so the game specific functions. Things such as adding objectives, checking for collisions between the objectives and the projectiles for the player, calculating the Euclidean distance, which I use to which I use as a way of creating a color alpha channel to create the hot and cold graphical effect, and I do that. So if there's multiple objectives, which happens later on in the game, it sorts the vector to find the closest one based on the one that has the shortest Euclidean distance from the player, and it uses that to calculate the graphical element. I've got all these, most of the main game update functions, which are in here mostly. Yeah, here. And then I've also got the objective, which is pretty simple. It's just creating the new objective, drawing and updating the objective. The projectile is quite similar. It's just creating the projectile, drawing and updating the projectile. And then I'll start with this one. So this is the game info struct. So this has the player info struct embedded in it. It has the vector holding the objectives and the vector holding the projectiles, and also just has some various other game related data. And the only thing that this struct is storing is the sprite, and this one has an enum for the bitmaps and structs for a struct for holding the player info. And this one, the objective header, has a struct holding the objective data, so like the x and y location, sprite, and the distance, which is the Euclidean distance, which is stored on each objective. And that's all.